Now we're going to look at getting started with the CLICK PLC software so that we can get up and running and start the learning. One of the first things that is probably already done is the software has been installed. It doesn't work on Macs or Chromebooks, but it's free for your PC. If you don't have it, go out to Automation Direct, access their support menu. To launch, it's like all Windows program. Simply access via Windows or your desktop icon. Number 2, you'll be greeted with this little welcome screen. And number 3, start a new project. And that's what we're going to do. Before we get there, we're going to have to configure some things. The PLC panel has some modules. These numbers tell us what that module is, and we need to know that to configure the software. So when you create or connect a new program, we're going to start with Create New. And we have to put in the specifications of the modules, really just select their numbers. And we have the modules shown. Okay, if we click Start a New Project, and we have to now choose the processor, we're going to go down to the plus, little shortcut, and find the model that we have. On this, it's located on the bottom of the CPU that we can see the number, and we'll just click OK. We're going to disable the password as we're not using internet, so we don't have to worry about being on the network at large. Now we go into System Config under the Function menu, and we'll kind of move this over, and we're just going to now select the first slot module, slot 0. It is a digital I/O with analog, and we simply look for the C208 matching what we have in the rack. We click OK. Now it wants us to put in the base address. Put in DF, that's data floating point 1. We'll learn much more about that later, and it then takes care of the other channels and numbers those. So now we can click OK. That's done. Now the first I/O module is an input module, digital input. So we choose that, and again we pick the appropriate number as you see here for our trainer. We now have one left to do, and that's the output module. The output module is a digital output. Again, we can shorten this list by choosing that and select the appropriate one that we have. So this way the processor knows what addresses we have. Now we're going to configure the power supply. We have an external one, and at first it won't let you put a number there. After you say you can, we'll put it to 1,000. We have a 1 amp supply or 1,000 milliamps. That's an option that's not needed. But then this is the configuration that we're all set and we're ready to go to the next part. As you recall, the trainer has a full industrial I/O panel, and we're going to be concentrating on this example with these lights, which are Y1 through Y4, and these switches. So hey, the goal is to enter this program. To do that, we need to simply just drag the instructions and put in the addresses. The addresses are X001, or you can just type X1, X2, Y1, etc. The blue letters are called nicknames, sometimes tags, and they tell you that we're allowed to then describe better what this is. And here you see they've been labeled on this diagram of the trainer for you. So to start putting in our program, we drag a normally open contact, and then we type in the address X1. You could type X001, but this works just fine. And for the output, we drag an output instruction. So we type then Y1 as the address for that. Then we're going to do the next one, which is going to be X2. And we hit OK. And then we go Y2. Just a real simple program where switch 1 will drive light 1, etc. A few variations coming up. As we move along, we bring that contact out. We then type what we want here, X3, and then we drag the output again. A shortcut we'll see in a moment after we type in Y3 is you just click on the rung as I'm here, now I'm just typing X1 and I hit the enter key. Then I type X2, enter key, X3, and then X4. It just puts these in series. If I click in the output area, I can also just do that, look at we're on rung 4. But if we go up to the output area, by the way, just showing that you can scroll like Excel. Here is the output, and I can just type Y4, and that goes in. The last thing we have to do is go down to this area, get the end command. This is the instruction panel, and we go there and we hit end, and that's our program and ready to go. For the next step will be to go to the address picker under the program tab, as you saw, and we're going to put in names for each one of these. So X1, we're just going to label that the green PB for push button, the red PB, etc. And the other thing we'll learn a little bit later, and I'll leave it in there, but we're going to learn that the red push button is already pushed. It's called a normally closed, so when we push it, it opens. And we'll see that play out. And the last one, X4, is a selector switch. After that, we can click on Y, go to the Y1, and here we can type in the color of the lights. Now, the green light, the red light, and on different programs, this will be the device we're operating, such as the pump, or starting the motor, or extending the cylinder, whatever it might make sense to the technician to look at. So now we've got all those in. We click OK, and now we see they appear. Now they can disappear if you click on the nicknames and deselect it, or the rung comments we're not using yet. Again, we'll learn things as we go, but that's got you set up for a perfect program. When we connect the cable, we need to connect it to the USB port. We're going to use a cable that came with it. We're also going to usually have this switch in the run position. It can be changed remotely through the software. And we're going to verify that power is on and the run light is run when we're actually running the program. There are other ways to connect, but for these lessons, we're going to use the USB programming cable. Now we're ready to connect to the PLC. We go to the main ribbon there and choose that. Here we must be plugged in to both the PLC and the PC. We see it showed up as COM3. There are options, if you don't know which, to blink the LEDs. We're going to skip that. And this one we're going to say we don't want to read the program. We want to work with the project we've made. So we click that one and we go OK. And now it's connected. So the next thing we're going to do is go up and write the project. The project is everything we've done and then some, so whatever is needed. We see we have no errors. If we did have an error, it would tell us. We're going to now give it a name that makes sense, such as our first project, Skill 1. And you want to make sure you put this where you know where it is. Then we're going to simply click Save. And then it sometimes comes up with this. Since we define the PLC, we're going to select to use the PLC settings. This is more used when you're using the Ethernet port for programming, and that's a whole nother unit in itself. So we're going to just stick with use the PLC settings. It then is going to start the writing project, so we hit OK. Then it's compiling it and says, you sure you want to do this? And here it's saying there's happens to be a different program in, and yes, I want to just program with the new one. In the field, we'd make sure we stop the program if there were any modifications. Not something so common with maintenance, more with the automation team or the engineering team. So here it's doing everything we want, turning into a program that the PLC will be running and be able to execute. So now it's in. They've turned blue. The status is showing. And I'm going to close this window because we don't need it. And when we look at this and I operate the push button, we're going to see it illuminates. There's X1 turning on Y1. I push X2, it makes Y2 go off. And then if we push X3, it turns on Y3. Now to get Y4 on, we need to get all of these on. We see two of them are. So we're going to have to push X1 and X3, and now we get all the lights on. That's how it should work, and we're going to learn more when we do the actual lab. But that covers how to create a project, get it into the PLC, and run it. So with that, you're able to program, in this example, the switches and lights to react, but we're going to be able to program the motor drive, the pneumatics, the analog functions, this touch screen, all from this PLC.